Here with Travis Jones and Jason Barrett. I hope you're having a great week and a great day, and you're making it a great day. And today we're talking about our current training, somewhat of a training philosophy, goals, some of our past today, so you can get some insights to also where we've come from, but also where we're going and why we're training the way we are training, because it's sometimes good to hear how other people are doing things and why they're doing things to then maybe model that success or model some of the things that you like to hear. And sometimes it's just good to listen in and ride the journey. So welcome today, guys, to the podcast. And Jace, what's happening, mate?
Not too much, man. Not too much. Just enjoying the sunshine we've got. It gets really cold at night now and then nice and warm during the day. So just trying to make the most of that sunshine, making hay, if you will.
Yeah, man, I just went for a run because it's super cold in the mornings here as well. Like at night, when you say cold, it's not cold. It's like 0 degrees here.
It's 9 to 14 degrees here.
Yeah. So it's like 0 degrees this morning here in the morning. And I'm like, no, that's cold. And today it's essentially 10 degrees outside right now. And it's sunny. Oh. And that's my sunny.
Well, like the perspective of now seeing you make Liv go and do those water baths after the runs, it gives a whole new level of sadism. I'm not a fan.
Oh, mate, it's so different. Jumping in the water in Perth versus in Tasmania is a completely different beast. Yeah. So, mate, give me a bit of a backstory of where you've come from with your training, and then we can look at it's like obviously where you're going as well.
So the big thing for me, like if you look at when I first started training, probably would have been about like 12, 13 years ago or so, right? The pity is I don't look like I've been training for 12, 13 years. That's because I had what they call fuck around-itis, where you would do a couple of just random things and you wouldn't really sort of set any meaningful goals and do all that kind of stuff. So I would say I started my journey in at the end of high school. My older brother, 5 years older than me, he joined a gym and was getting fit, getting strong, lifting weights. And I was like, oh, I really like the idea of doing that. I like the idea of going into the gym, lifting weights, like spending time with my brother, basically. So that's what I did. I joined up and really enjoyed the process of lifting weights and getting strong. Did all sorts of stupid shit that you do as a kid, but I was always kind of an overweight kid. From about sort of mid-primary school up to high school. I was probably slightly bigger than skinny fat. So still didn't really have any definition in my arms, wasn't really muscular, but I was kind of tall and kind of a little bit broad shouldered, but I still had so much weight around my gut. So, then I was like, I'm getting to the gym, get stronger. Never really went on a proper sort of fat loss until I was like 22, 23, and probably sort of looked at nutrition and started looking at the science behind it, really got into it. That's where I got my certification from Precision Nutrition, because I was really into sort of the nutrition side of things, did a whole bunch of sort of different styles of training, but I think the big thing that really made the lifestyle switch for me was when I ended up, I started a bulk with a coach that I was working for at the time. And I injured myself on my very first training session as I was starting to gain a bit of muscle mass because I'd never really had much. I was, kind of skinny fat. And first session, played like an hour and a half of squash and then went straight up to do a leg session, already fatigued, trying to squat like 100 kilos, like third or fourth rep. My lower back just goes, and then I just kept eating like I was bulking, but I wasn't bulking because I wasn't training. So basically that's called getting fat and wallowing. So that's basically when I hit my point of, funnily enough, it's also when I ended up meeting my wife was, when I was at my biggest, which was, interesting. If she loves you at your biggest, she'll love you when you're shredded too. So that's why, but now I've set the standard. That was kind of my point of, I've got to make something happen here. Cause I took my shirt off at one point. I was like, I didn't even realize how big I'd gotten. I got to up to about 105 kilos. And on my frame, it was pretty well all in the upper body, just big, really, really big in the stomach. So I was like, fuck this, I've got to do something about it. And then I ended up over about 2 years shredding down, got down to the point where I had abs for the first time in my life, which was awesome, all relatively self-coached at that point, which was really, it was good to see that I could do it. Just grinded away for about 2 years to lose about 30 kilos. It was a process, right? We had weddings and social events and all that kind of stuff going on in there. But it was just kind of like a flagpole. It's like, I want to get abs and do like a photo shoot and like celebrate the success, which I did. But then after that, I kind of felt a little bit aimless. And that was actually when I first reached out to you, Trav. After that photo shoot, I ended up gaining probably about, I went from like 73 up to about 88 or so. So not as bad as I was, but I had rebounded that little bit more than I'd wanted to. And then that's when I came to you. I was like, look, I want to do this a bit more sustainably. I want to not have to think about it myself, which is a big one. Have someone else trying to do the thinking for me and just tell me what to do, and I can do it. And then that's when I ended up, I think, getting shredded down for the wedding. Where
man.
probably looked the best that I've looked, and then from there it was a series of basically little mini bulk. Then shit would hit the fan with work and all this other kind of stuff, and then finally got to a place sort of towards the end of last year. I was like, all right, I'm in a good enough place, I feel, where I can start to meaningfully put on size. Because for those of you who don't know, I'm about 6'1", about what am I 78.5 this morning, so fairly like I don't look as light as I actually am, but I'm aiming to look heavier than I am. That's the goal now. So I want to look a little bit bulkier and get a little bit more muscle mass. But something that I've started doing a little bit more now is realizing that aiming for the bulk is really good, and trying to gain that muscle mass is really important to me, so I can maintain it a lot easier. The more you have, the easier it is to maintain, and obviously the more you can eat on that maintenance phase. Then I also want to increase my fitness. That's been something that I've probably lacked in the last probably 12 weeks or so, given by the fact that I went for a jog yesterday for 10 minutes and I was fucked by the end of it, because I blame my hip, but I was like, well, my heart still also wasn't taking it very well. So I've been from about 75 kilos over the last 12 weeks. I've been on a bit of a lean bulk. I'm up to about 78 at the moment, which is a pretty good rate of gain in terms of keeping it nice and low. So that's pretty much going to be my focus until I get to the point where I'm happy. And for me, that's probably going to be sort of a lean mid 80s, which I realize is going to take me probably 2-3 years, maybe a bit longer, to really get to that point. And managing, obviously, having kids and wanting to have more kids on the way, and the way that impacts recovery and sleep and all the other stuff that plays a role. But that's really sort of my sort of flag post, is I want to be able to do that, but I also want to have some sort of conditioning in there where I can go for a jog without getting puffed. I can do some more intense stuff. It's not all just like, all right, got to do a set of bench press and then I'm going to sit there for 3 minutes to recover and get my breath back and then do 3 sets of bench press again, because I want to be able to build some endurance too. So that's pretty much my goal, my current sort of situation as far as physique, body, lifestyle goes.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Like with the bulk, where were you? 75 and you're 78 now. Is that what you said over 3 months?
Yeah, so I started about 75. I've got it in my app. Hang on. I started at about 75, and then I think it's been just under 3 months.
Yeah, because I think when we look at it, for anyone who's trying to do a lean bulk, and that's holding their aesthetics, holding their level of leanness that they're happy with, and gain lean muscle mass, you want to be in a slight calorie surplus. And we don't want to be putting on too much weight too fast, because then you're going to lose that aesthetics, you're going to lose the abs, you're not going to feel as comfortable with your shirt off. And I'm not saying you can't do that, but if you want to just have a lean bulk, you want to be gaining at about 1 to 1.5% of total body weight per month, right?
Yeah.
So if you're gaining somewhere between 750 grams to 1 kilo per month, like that's right on track to being inside the perfect ballpark of gaining weight. So if you're looking at a lean,
Yeah, I was going to say, I was going a little bit more conservatively, and I basically started at about 1,800 calories, and each week I've just bumped myself up that little bit. We talked about that strategy earlier in the year, and just really bumped myself up. So now I'm sitting at about 2,400 calories a day. And that's where it's kind of evened out, as far as somewhere between 150 and 200 grams or so a week on average, weighing myself every day and just kind of getting the average of that. And that's slowly increasing over time, which has been good.
And if you look at that, right, like I think anyone who not really struggles to put on muscle mass, but I would say you're not an easy gainer. Okay, I'll put it as that, Jace. So it's going to require really a dedicated 12 months to put on 7 kilos of lean muscle mass, 6 to 7 kilos of lean muscle mass. And that would be like you staying in that bulk, maybe doing a 2 or 3 week mini cut, like 3 times across the year, to maintain that level of leanness. You're bulking for like 12 weeks. You do a quick 2 week or 3 week, like sharpen up, you go again, or to 16 weeks, you're tightening it up. I think for anyone who's looking at trying to gain lean muscle mass, I don't, and I'm not a big proponent of completely going some crazy surplus, just put on a bunch of fat mass, because it starts to rock you mentally. And then you start to create poor relationships with food from what I've seen in the past.
Mm.
So if we can try and track our way up with our calories and focus on gaining lean muscle mass, maintaining our body fat, just slowly increasing our calories, enjoying the process, okay,
Mm.
because you got to start to eat more and more and more, then it's different to someone who's just trying to drop fat, right? Or
Mm.
someone who's just trying to maintain. So you're not trying to maintain, you're not trying to lose fat, you're trying to bulk. So it's a different level of focus for you, and it's a more enjoyable one anyway
Yeah.
than eating less calories.
Yeah, 100%. Like there are times where you can definitely get into the point of, oh, I just can't be bothered making or eating the size of the meal that I have to eat. But and you know, some people listening might be like, "Fuck you! I want that problem to have." Everyone's got their everyone's got their demons, right? Mine is a big bowl of spaghetti. But the thing for me has been I've been eating pretty much the same kind of foods, and I've been trying to do it that way deliberately that I was eating when I was shredding. It's just the portion sizes that have really changed because you know I want to include vegetables, I want to include high fiber foods, I want to include a variety of different foods. I don't want to be just smashing burgers and pizzas and that kind of stuff. Look, I can make those things fit, but I find when I do, I actually still end up a bit hungry. I feel like a little bit empty. Like, oh yeah, I had that burger and those chips, but it's still you can't have that much while maintaining a good composition of macros while maintaining a relatively high amount of protein. Because also one of the things I'm trying to do in the bulk is make sure that I'm getting at least a hit of 30 to 40 grams of protein every 3 to 4 hours, maximize the amount of muscle protein synthesis that I'm getting, just trying to maximize what I've got because my recovery is hampered by a beautiful little girl who wakes up a couple times a night and wants attention and cuddles and milk and all those sort of things. And my wife gets up, so I get up. If you can't maximize the recovery, I've got to maximize other things. So when you are looking to do it optimally, like you shouldn't be getting and relying on food for your happiness. And that's as true in a cut as it is in a bulk, right? It's like, oh, I'm free, I'm happy. Everyone's like, oh, I want to do a bulk so I can eat all these foods and eat. It's like, I have no desire to eat those foods, probably because I'm full most of the time, but also because I know that's not really going to fit in with my goals very well. It's going to limit me in what I can have throughout the day, and it's at the end of the day, it's just not worth it. And I also don't want to teach my kids, when you bulk, you get the chance to eat all the crap foods you want, and then health goes out the window. And it's like, no, I want the focus to be on good quality nutrients as well.
Yeah, awesome, mate. And like, I guess one of the biggest things is at the moment you're hitting about 2,400. Is that what you said? Calories?
Yeah,
Yeah,
2400.
so 2,400 calories. What about your training? How many times a week are you training at the moment?
At the moment, 4 times a week in the gym. And then on the off days, trying to get in, between sort of 6,000 and 8,000 steps at least, depending on how the day goes. Not minimizing that step count, not sitting on the couch because I'm bulking, but 4 days a week. So it's basically a 4-day upper lower split. 1 day focused on chest with a bit of back, 1 day focused on back with a bit of chest, and then again, same thing for leg day. 1 more quad focused with a bit of hammies, 1 more hammy focused with a bit of quad. So you're kind of prioritizing everything throughout the week with basically 2 days on, 1 day off, 1 day on, 1 day off, 1 day on, 1 day off, then the 2 days again. So it just kind of keeps cycling through, which has worked quite well. I've come to the end of this particular mesocycle this week, so I'm currently pushing every set to failure, which is fun, but also very difficult. It's actually something I recommend for a lot of people at least once every sort of 6 to 8 weeks, is to push yourself to failure, because there are some exercises where I was really adequately rating my amount of reps in reserve, right? How many reps I had left in the tank. I was like, last week I was trying to leave 2 in the tank. This week I'm basically going to failure, and I pretty much got 2 more than I did last week. I was like, all right, I was accurate with that, with that particular assessment. Some of them, I was like, I had 5 reps left in the tank. I had 5 reps, easily 5 reps left in the tank, but just because of the soreness of some of the muscles, it was like, oh, I feel like maybe this is coming close to it. But the soreness didn't actually indicate that anywhere near failure. It was just getting a really good pump. So something like machine flies, I was able to pump out like 5 more than I did the week before, and I was like, shit, it's a real eye opener if every now and again you do push yourself to failure. Just it's not something that I recommend all the time, but just to get a gauge of how much intensity are you putting in. That's probably the biggest thing for me has been training intensity and really looking at the gym is like, look, I didn't something that Dr. Mike from RP says. It's like I didn't come here to not work hard. Like I didn't come here to avoid the pain and the stretch and the sort of the push, right? I didn't come to the gym to for an easy time. That wasn't what I was here for. So I was like, all right, coming in with more of that mentality. Whereas I feel like when you're on a cut, you can really get away with not necessarily phoning it in, but you can get away with more subpar sessions than when you're gaining mass. Because I'm like, well, if I don't put it to use, where the fuck are these calories going to go? To my ass, not in a good way.
Mate, 100%. I think what you're saying there is to failure is like I'll program like and just call it like an AMRAP set, right? So it's like as many reps as possible. So what you'll see, and even it's interesting when I'll coach people in person and they'll lift weights for like 3 sets or 4 sets, and on the 5th set I'm like, all right guys, and I've told them we want to be 2 reps in reserve, and they're saying, yep, this is my 2 reps in reserve. On the 5th set, I give them an AMRAP set and say we're doing a set of 12. All of a sudden, on the 5th set, they're doing a set of 20 or 22. I was like, guys, you are so far away from 2 reps in reserve in those other 4 sets. You're not getting the stimulus required that we're looking for that lean muscle growth, because we want to be within that, max 3 reps in reserve, 2 reps from failure, or 1 rep from failure in most of our sets, in most of our working sets. And I think that's something that I see a lot of people not focus on in the gym. Like you said, phoning it in, but sometimes they're just not aware. They're just not aware their personal capabilities until someone says, like, if I had a gun to your head, could you pump out another 3 reps? Could you pump out another 5 reps? And then all of a sudden they do. And it's like, man, you had that in you all along. You're not lifting at the intensity you should be, right? You're like 7 reps from reserve right now. That's not an intensity that's going to build that lean muscle mass. So then all of a sudden it recalibrates. It's like, dude, like your first 4 sets shouldn't have been at, 100 kilos, should have been at like 115. Okay. And that's actually your 2 reps in reserve. And like you're 15%, you're lifting 15% less than what you should be. And for anyone out there who's currently going through a program, just pick the last set of some of your exercises and just test out an AMRAP, right? And just go, okay, was I going too easy on my first couple of sets? And then next week, your new working weight. I think it's just something for everyone to understand.
Yeah, 100%. It's there's a point you'll understand. You'll start to get a better gauge for when your reps in reserve. Like for me, in a compound movement, I know pretty well when my reps, when I'm sort of close to failure, right? Like things start really slowing down, especially things like a chest press. I did a bit of chest today. When it starts really slowing down, like for bench press, I didn't go to complete failure because that's a risky exercise to do complete failure on, unless you want to embarrass yourself and have to slide the weights off each side, do the shuffle. But I managed, I think it was like 11 at 65 for me. It was like halfway through the session. And the last one, basically, it was like a pause halfway through, and just I had to really grind it out. As soon as your rep speed starts to slow, that's when you're in that sort of 4-3-2 rep in reserve category. And then it's also considering for me as well technical failure, so making sure that when you are going to failure, it's not complete muscular, my arms are going to fucking fall off, but I'm just going to like yeet this weight up and call that a rep, right? That's not a rep. What I did, especially for me with pull-ups, I'm trying to get better at pull-ups because I've got really long arms and I suck at them. So I managed to do 8, and then I managed to do 6, and the 6 was like barely got my chin sort of to the bar, which was like my minimum, and it was down to full extension. And then I was like, I'm not going to count these 2, but in order for me to get that little bit beyond, I'm going to jump up and then do some nice slow negatives just to get that little bit of extra stimulation from that. But that 6, that's what I would call technical failure. I couldn't do another rep with clean technique. And there's something to be said for like grinding something out and pushing it out, and maybe the technique fails a little bit, but not for cheapening your range of motion. Like I wouldn't go do another set of bench press by only go halfway down and count that as a rep, right? So technical failure, you do the full rep with good technique. As soon as your technique breaks down and you can't lift it with that good technique anymore, that's your failure, right? So don't go out there squatting until your knees collapse, right? As soon as you can't use good technique and go all the way down, and that's stop there. That's don't risk yourself.
True that. So for you, for your training is really just focusing on the bulk for the next sort of 12 months with a couple of mini cuts in between, you reckon?
Yeah, I think that's going to be my big focus. I'll review my progress at the end of I think I've got like 4 or 5 weeks left of this kind of cycle of training. Take a look at what worked well for me, what didn't. I have potentially the need to make my training a little bit shorter and sharper. So maybe it's going to involve a bit more supersets, maybe looking at doing a few less sets than I have been doing, because I think I've been maybe overreaching. I got a bit sick a couple of weeks ago. So going to keep it at 4 days a week. I'm going to add where I need to, probably some supersets just to keep it flowing. And then a big goal for me over the next 12 months is just see how much kind of mass I can gain, especially in winter. I don't want to stray too far away from seeing those sort of top 4 abs. So that's going to be a little point for me to kind of come back to, as you said, over those 3-4 week mini cuts, and then just try and be a mass monster without any extra supplements.
True that, man.
Just creatine.
Just creatine and whey protein.
Yeah. So yourself at the moment, you're on at least a little bit of a mini major 3-week shred at the moment. What's your current goals looking like? What has the process been for you lately?
Yeah, dude. Like, Liv's birthday's in like 3.5 weeks, right? So I said to Liv before she turns her next year on this earth, it's like, hey, let's do an 8-week challenge, because she's going to help. She's just finishing up her nutrition degree, and she's going to start coaching some females. So I'm like, hey, awesome. You're going to do that in a couple of months as she's finishing her degree now. Let's do a shred together and kind of
Fit
the
first
4 weeks. Yeah, pretty much. But not mums. We're going to focus on a specific age group, and that will come out soon. So when we're looking at this, for the first 4 weeks, it kind of lines up directly in line with her birthday. So we're going to go for like a 4-week shred, and then, have a, day off because her birthday and she's having a big party. And then we're going to do another 4 weeks after that. So, the first 4 weeks, like, I don't like to diet personally for very long. I just hate it. And because like I've tracked calories for a very long time in my life. And with that, I intuitively eat quite well, and I'll get a little bit lax, but my weight starts to pop up. And like, as you said, once I start to, like for yourself, once I start to lose those sort of top 4 abs, because I'm lax with my nutrition, I intuitively eat and I don't eat much. Like I have like 1,000 calorie meal every night of the week. I'll have about 500 to 800 calorie lunch or breakfast every day. And I'll have about 300 calorie snack. And then on the weekends, it will probably actually go up to about 3,000 to 3,500. So if I look at it, my daily average when I'm not tracking is about 2,500. And I can do that because I've tracked for so long that I eyeball and can tell anything, right? My protein oats when I'm dieting versus when I'm not dieting. I know my protein oats when I'm not dieting is about 700 calories. And when I have my protein oats when I'm dieting, they're about 350 calories. Like they're just a little bit smaller.
You miss out on those 2 tablespoons of peanut butter?
Exactly. And all of a sudden, bang, done. So when we look at it, I swap out the peanut butter for my strawberries. I'll change the milk, the skim milk for water. Like I'll make some substitutions. They still could taste great, but it's a couple of substitutions with exactly the same food, and all of a sudden I've minimized. The only thing that like I hit a struggle street with is like I'm used to like 1,000 calorie, 1,200 calorie dinners, and when I'm dieting, they're like 600 calorie dinners. So like half the size of my dinner, and I love big dinners. But that's why I don't diet for very long. I can go a moderate cut for the next 12 weeks, okay? Or I can go super aggressive for the next 3 weeks and achieve the same result. Which one would I prefer to do? And it's like, for me, it's like, I'm happy to just grind it out for 3 weeks. It's like, yeah, I'm hungry. Yeah, well, I'm only hungry for 3 weeks. I could be like doing it for 12 weeks and be that kind of nagging hunger for 12 weeks, I can be just like really hungry for 3 weeks. I'd rather really hungry for 3 weeks. So for me, man, I'm on 1,300 calories a day. And for anyone listening to that, they'd be like, oh my gosh, like you're going to die. You're going to lose all your muscle mass. It's like, dude, like I'm not going to lose my muscle mass. I'm all good. And even if I lost a little bit of muscle mass, I don't care. Like I've got enough muscle to go around. Like someone take some. Like yeah, like man, like for me, like I was 93.8 kilos, and that's really like my top end. Like 94 kilos is my top end for, where I like to be. I know when I jump on the scale, I'm 94. I was like, okay, dude, it's time to go for a cut. And I know that's my benchmark. I just know. And then like I cut down to 88. And then when 88, full six pack. Okay. When I'm at like 93, I was at 93.8. Like when I push up there, it's like, yeah, I can kind of see him, but I'm a bit fluffy. And I'm just not as take my shirt off kind of guy, right? When normally it's like 6 pounds, like, hey, let's go to the shops, take my shirt off.
Yeah, in 0 degrees.
Yeah, exactly. I'm shivering more, and that means I'm probably burning more calories. But like for me, like I'll go a little bit low on my protein, which is normally what I wouldn't recommend. But because I'm running a lot at the moment with my training, I don't want to go low on my carbohydrates because I'll completely tank out. So like I've sacrificed my protein to be about 1.3 to 1.4 grams of protein per kilo. So that's seeing about 130 grams of protein a day. I have 30 grams of fat. I've got about 140 grams of carbs. So that's kind of my macros, but I'm seeing about 13 to 1,350 calories a day. I'm burning on a daily basis about 3,000 calories a day. So I'm in about a 1,500 calorie deficit a day. Every 10 days, about 15,000. So I should be losing about 2 kilos every 10 days, right? So I would say in 21 days, I want to try and stay on this aggressive cut max in 28 days. Really, I like to do it for 3 weeks. Just diet, done, 21 days, I'm out. And back to going into intuitively eating, right? It's like it's a fun way. But I can only do this because I don't binge and restrict, right? Like I can restrict and just like, fuck, this is shit. And I'll just grind it out. It's like I said, I was going to do something. Let's grind it out. It's like, I don't recommend this to a lot of people unless you've been dieting for a period of time and you understand yourself and your triggers. Because if you aggressively diet and can't control your hunger and you're surrounded by things that are tempting you, all of a sudden you fall off the face of the planet and land into 7 tubs of Ben and Jerry's, right? Like you don't want to do it unless you understand your own self-control, right? I'm happy to do an aggressive cut for me with my level of tracking and my level of time in the industry dieting. So 21 days, 1,500 calorie deficit a day. I'm going to be 15,000 calorie deficit, probably a little bit more actually, over 10 days. 21 days, probably about 30,000 calorie deficit, which works out to be about 4 kilos of fat loss. On an in-body scan at the moment, I'm just under a week in. Like I've lost over 3.1 kilos in the first like 4 days. There'll be a little bit of fat mass and a lot of water in there. I probably will lose about 4 kilos in the first week of water weight. So from 93.8 down to about 90 kilos flat, I reckon I'll hit in the first week. And then I'll go down to another kilo after that. It won't be water because I'll just be coming into those fat stores. The following week, I'll probably lose another kilo of fat. So I'll probably pump in to about 88 kilos. I'll add my normal calories back in. My glycogen will replenish. I'll probably be about 88 and a half. So like I'll hit 87.5 for like 2 days and I'll pop up to 88.5 and I'll be like, okay, cool. I'm lean and this is my lean level. And like, I know it. And I can talk with such certainty because I've done it so many times. Like it's just like, oh, turn the switch. Let's go for 3 weeks. And I think once you're used to training and once you're used to dieting, you have the education and the nutrition IQ. It's really a nutrition IQ to be able to do it. And my day will look like this. I have 3 meals throughout the day. I'll have one is a shake. That's 200 calories, some raspberries, whey protein, and that's 200 calories. I'll have a form of egg and egg white normally. So as like a second meal or a first meal, they'll interchange first and second. Main thing is making sure I have 30 grams of protein minimum in each of my meals, and I'll have those 3 meals. I won't really ever eat until about 11 to 12 o'clock when I'm cutting. So my first meal, I'll go into intermittent fast because it's really only 3 meals. I like to just bank my calories into an 8-hour window. So there's a whey protein, 100 grams. That's one meal. Meal two, about 4 egg whites and 1 egg yolk, plus 1 piece of toast, normally 100 grams of ham, some cherry tomatoes in there, a little bit of onion, and that will come out. That was today. I think that was about just under 400 calories. So my lunch, or I'll have like a sandwich, ham, let it like big, massive sandwich for about 400 calories. That manwich, yeah, exactly. Let's claim that. I'll have a manwich, but it's like a 400-calorie manwich. I just bump it out with mass volume. Those are really my two go-tos. Or if it was cold yesterday and I had some protein oats because I was like, I need to warm up because I feel like I'm going to die. So I need some warm food. So like that will be my three. And then my dinners actually change a little bit as well. I've got like chicken mince, chicken breast mince, lean beef mince, like an eye fillet steak. I'll go to also, what else we got? Turkey. I'll go like turkey mince. I'll go like chicken sausages. They're lower in calories. And I'll go to a chicken breast. Like those are my go-to proteins for dinners. And I'll mainly slow cook. And if it's the minces, just jump bunches of seasonings in there and make the mince taste good. And my go-tos are literally about 3 kilos of pumpkin and potatoes a week, like 1.5 kilos, 1.5 kilos of both. And that's like layered through my dinners and meals. And because like pumpkin, like 500 grams of pumpkin is so low on calories. It's like 200 calories. So like pumpkin, I normally swish it in with a potato to get even more volume. So I'll have like 200 grams of potato and 200 grams of pumpkin all roasted in together to give my food my dinner such much more volume. And then on top of that, I'll have like a chicken or a steak or a mince in a marinade and some veg. And that's literally going to be my dinners. It actually tastes really good for 3 weeks. I'm good to go. Let's just rock and roll.
People really sleep on volume, I think, when it comes to food. When you're, if you're new into the industry, like it's definitely one of those things where if you've ever done like bodybuilding or you've been in the industry for a while, you do appreciate high volume foods. Things like raspberries, using smoothies and blending them up with ice or frozen berries to get more volume out of them as well. That it's like I don't know, some scientific thing that happens and it just explodes up. Get a lot more volume. There's also like making like protein whip and fluff where you kind of like whisk it up and it gets like bigger, and you put a little ice chips in there and the cold just kind of expands it, right? And then you're eating this big bowl of something for like 200 calories and it's super filling. But it also feels like you've just been eating a head of lettuce, like you're eating like an apple. It's like, I'm full, but at what cost? But people sleep on things like like pumpkin, as far as a fat loss food goes, is huge as a carb source. It's one of those few vegetables that I kind of I recommend, for me at least, that I track, because I tend to have like broccoli, carrot, capsicum. It's like every meal. I have it at every meal at dinner usually, so I don't bother tracking it because I know I'm having the same amount usually every single meal. So if I adjust my calories, that will adjust with it. But yeah, pumpkin is a huge one. Potato as well, if you can get like the Spud Light, really bulks out the meal. And huge. I think the other thing that people forget about is just eating slower, especially when you're on a cut, like really appreciating your food and just like, making love to every single bite, just like chewing it 10, 15 times, the things that we're supposed to do.
Literally pretend you're not a parent and you actually eat slow. Because normally as a parent, you're eating really fast. So it's like, just pretend you're not a parent for a while and just enjoy your food and eat slow.
Close your eyes, put your headphones on. Can't hear your wife. Just pumpkin.
Just enjoy it. Yeah, exactly. But man, like for me, I think like a hash is probably one of the best things for me personally. Or a puree that has pumpkin and potato in it, because the potato thickens it up and you get more volume. So with the hash, it's like diced into little 1 centimeter cubes, like 1.5 centimeter cubes, like diced, par cooked, chucked in the air fryer with some seasoning. And that hash creates a good base level for my meat to, have a sleep on top of before I eat it. Or it's like, making a mash and whipping it up together. Obviously you do it just with pumpkin, it creates a soup, but you do it with a potato, it just gets that level of thickness in there as well. So like those are my two sides for protein. I normally actually lean away from rice when I'm in a cut, because obviously it's just more calorie dense. It just doesn't give me that same satiation or volume that I'm looking for, because I want to make sure I'm having as much volume as possible. And like you said, the shake, I have a shake with ice and frozen raspberries, pretty much because then it gives me two shakes, right? Like it gives me two shaker cups full of shakes, so it just fills me up for longer. It doesn't feel like I'm just having some protein in water. What I do want to get, I'm going to try and get it for Liv for her birthday and say, because I can use it, is like the new Ninja Creamies. They came out. Have you seen them? Like
No.
that, man. Like if you go on TikTok and look up Ninja Creamy, like that is, and some recipes. Like you can, these things, man. Like you can put like a yogurt in this Ninja Creamy and blend it up, and it'll turn into an ice cream. So it's like an ice cream maker, but it's like from the Ninja smoothie blender range. And they turn milk into ice cream. They chocolate milk into ice cream. Obviously, America has lots more like 0% chocolate milks than we have in Australia. I wish I had some of those things. But
honestly, if you're American and you're listening to this, the amount of low calorie foods you've got available, come to Australia, to Struggle Town. You've got a low calorie snack here. Have a carrot. Welcome to Australia.
Exactly. But these Ninja Creamies, man, like they look amazing. And oh man, they do. And like they turn like a Chobani Fit yogurt into an ice cream in like a couple of minutes. And that in itself is like 15 grams of protein, and like it would taste amazing. It's like 100 calories, and you're like, wow, I can do this every single night.
Ice cream, sorbet, gelato, milkshake, smoothie bowl, light ice cream, and mix in. It's got all the, oh, Jesus Christ. It's like my my rice cooker, but for ice cream.
Maybe if I say Ninja Creamy enough times on this episode, they'll send me one. Who knows?
No, you got to not say it. You got to start advertising other brands so they want to be the one who get in.
Exactly. Oh, exactly, man. Anyway, that in itself will probably be my dinners, because that looks very volume based for a dessert. Because normally, after dinner, every single night of the week when I'm on a cut, I have an ice cream. Right, that's my go-to. I have a Skinny Cow Sundae with the one with the chocolate and the peanuts on top. It's 120 calories. It's like 3.8 grams of protein. That is every single night of the week for me, pretty much every day of my life. That's my ice cream. And it just gives me that satisfaction. So I always have that in my calories every single day. But that's my nutrition side of things. My training side of things, man. I run a lot these days, and I'm not a runner. I'm not built as a runner. Like I am 93 kilos. I'm 91 now, or whatever I am. And I'm a heavy. I'm 5'7", right? So I'm a heavy dude for my size. So with that, I can sprint, and that when I played footy, it's like off the mark. Give me 30 meters, like I got you. But like running 55 kilometers, like I did that Spartan race like a month and a bit ago, that's not me, right? My body is not meant for 55 kilometers, but we do what we think is hard, and that's what I enjoy. So I'm doing stuff that I find is hard, but the biggest reason I'm running, man, it's not for me. Right. The big one, I'm doing it because it's hard for me, and I like to do things that are hard, and I like to test myself. I ran a marathon probably about 15 years ago now, with 1 day's notice. And I ran in about 4 hours, right? And my mate was an ultra marathon runner, and it was like, you can't run a marathon. I was like, I'll run tomorrow. It's Toronto Marathon. Like anyone can run a marathon. And like I ran the next day, and I did it. I thought I was going to die. I couldn't walk for the next 7 days. Like literally couldn't walk for 7 days straight. My mental power, I barely finished it. Like I was like struggle street, but I did in 4 hours. So I hammered the first half, and I couldn't send it in the second half. I nearly died. But I did that, and I was like, okay, I could actually enjoy running, even though I'm not good at it. But my son, I was like, I want to get back, and I want to get about 3 hour 30 marathon this year. So that was like a goal I sort of set for myself as one of my goals this year, is a 3 hour 30 marathon. And, I got a bunch of other little goals. I still want to maintain a, 200 kilo deadlift as a minimum. I want to maintain the ability to, like, my squats come down a little bit because I've got a bit of spinal compression. I don't like too much heavy weight on my back anymore. Just messes with my lower back. So I think if I can maintain about a 180 squat, that's okay for me, and maintain about a 150 bench press. Like I want want to maintain my big lifts, but not increase them. So I'm like in maintenance mode with my lifts. It gives me about 1,000-pound total. I'm happy with, and if I can do 1,000-pound total on my lifts and run a sub 3 hour 30 marathon on the same day, I'm going to do it that later this year just to see, what I can do in a day. So that'll be fun. I just like to do random stuff, just because you can. But the biggest reason I'm running more is for my son, like Jax. Like Jax, he's excelling at running, from what I believe. And he's 8 years old. He ran a 22-minute, 55-second 5 kilometer with me on Sunday. Like he's motoring for 8 years old, and he's enjoying it. And I don't want to be ever. And like for me, like I ran a 22:16 earlier in the week on the back end of a 10K. So my back 5Ks was in 22:16. I was like, oh, this feels good. So I know I'm in front of him. And I pace him. Every run, I run with him and I pace him, right? And I know that I could probably run a 21 if I'm pushing it right now. Like I could push it to a 21. But I know that he'll get a 21 in the next 12 months. And then I'll be left behind. So I don't want to be that guy who stands on the sidelines saying, you can do this, Jax, because he needs his dad. And I get choked up about this. Yeah. Wow. Like I want to be the dad who can be with his son for as long as he can and be the guy who, because everyone needs a pacer. And I want him to look back and he's like, my dad helped me get there. And I know in the next like 12 months to, 18 months, he'll turn 10 and he'll hit a sub 20. And like, I want to run that sub 20 with him. And it's like it's fucking hell. It's a milestone, right? Like, as he gets older, it's like my dad didn't just tell me I could do something; he showed me I can do something, and I think that in itself is such a life lesson. Oh, fucking hell! And that's the reason I'm running. I'm running for him. And I need to run more and I need to run faster. I need to get better with my training. So I did sprints. I was doing 4:15 kilometers with my sprints the other day. I did that pretty good. And I'll get that down to 4-minute sprints. And I'll get that down to a 3:45. And I know I can hold him. And I'll keep getting my 5 kilometer faster and faster so I can stay with him for as many years as I can. And, Finn will join us. Like, Finn's 5. Like, I don't expect a 5-year-old to run with us at the same time as well. I'm not a lunatic. But
put him on a little scooter.
Yeah, exactly. But like I push them. But like the main reason I run is for Jackson. And I want to be the dad who can always, for as long as I possibly can, help him be the best him in his health and fitness. And yeah, man, like that's where I run. I run like 50Ks a week at the moment. I run 3 times a week with Liv, and her and our cousin. So every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we drop the kids off at school, do 7K run as soon as we drop them off. And we started a 5K run. I lifted it to a 6K run for them, and we lifted it to a 7K run. In 4 weeks' time, I told them we're going to start doing an 8K run, so I'm pacing them as well. Because I want everyone around me to be the best them. I know I can see people can be better and do more and push themselves harder. I love that, and that's my personality. So I will do then 8Ks to get. Man, I love running with Liv. Like to be able to share time doing something I love, which is health and fitness, not running. Health and fitness is what I love. So running is health and fitness. So I don't care if I'm throwing a weight around the gym or running. At the end of the day, I'm doing what I've chosen to do for my whole life. Right. Yeah. And I get to share that with my wife. So I'll train her twice a week in the gym. I get to run with her 3 times a week, and we'll go from 7Ks to 8Ks. And the time we're spending on running actually isn't increasing because their times are getting faster. So we're still not running for longer because just their kilometer pace is getting faster. So we have the same amount of time, so we're not wasting the day. And then I'll run 10Ks on a Tuesday, but that will be interval based, right? So I'll do a 2K warm up, a K sprint, 500 meters slow, K sprint. I'll do that for times 4, and I'll do a 2K cool down. I'll probably bump that out to 12Ks in a couple of weeks and do 5 1-kilometer sprints. And just that's my progression run for the week. I'll do a 10K, which I just finished before the podcast. It's more of a hilly run. It's just chill. Like my Monday, Wednesday, Friday with Liv and Jam is zone 2. Like that's my chill pace. My heart rate doesn't go really past like 150. It normally stays around that 140 beats a minute, somewhere around there. And I just enjoy the chill run. It helps doing a zone 2 run and not actually trying to run fast, which is what most people are trying to do. Every run, they try to run as fast as they can. It's like, no, we actually want to run slow to run fast. So it's zone 2, it builds your aerobic capacity. It's really time on feet, right? So for my runs throughout the week, I really like zone 2. So that's my Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and my Thursday today is more hills 10K. I just sat at like a 6-minute pace up and down some hills. So it took an hour for my 10K today. I have a 5K run with Jackson now because soccer's on Saturdays. So that means we used to do park run together, but we made a commitment because he wants to become better and he loves it. And I love doing it with him. So as a family, me, Liv, Finn, and Jax, every Sunday we do 5Ks together because they have soccer on Saturdays. We'll keep doing our own park run every Sunday together. So that sort of rounds out my 50Ks during the week. And if I can get a longer run in there, I'll push one of them out to a longer run as well. I'll phase my longer run up to about a half marathon pretty much every week in a month or so, when just about a couple of months out before I do my marathon. I haven't pinpointed the exact time. I probably want to do an Ironman in November, and I have a 64 kilometer ultra run in December that I have that I'm doing as well. So that's like, and then I would just want to hold out my lifts. So my whole team is hold my lifts. And to do that, I do full body weight training 3 times a week. So I'm running 6 days a week and I do my full body weight training 3 days a week. And that's like, I do a quad-based movement. One will be a squat. One of them be some form of Bulgarian split squat, or like more of a lunge, like a split squat. And I'll have a normal squat and I'll have a front squat. That's my quad dominant moves for the week. I'll have a hinge dominant move. I'll have like a hip thrust. I'll have a RDL. I'll have a one-legged sort of deadlift. I'll have push and my push moves through the week. I'll sprinkle in a military press, an incline press, and a flat press. My pulls, I've got a pull-ups times 2, like a supinated and a pronated grip, and I've got a pull down. I also have a pendlay row in there as well, so I get some horizontal and vertical pulling. I'll have a shoulder. And then like there's my big. I got my push, my pull, my hamstring, my posterior chain. I got my quads, and then I'll sprinkle in across the top some shoulders and some arms in every session. And like that's me, like every day of the week. My quads, my lower body, I do between 6 to 8 reps, with the 2 reps in reserve. And my upper body, I do between 12 to 15 reps with 2 reps in reserve. I just like higher volume in my upper body and I like lower volume in my lower body. I feel like that works really well for me. I don't want to be deadlifting for 15 reps. I want to deadlift for 6 to 8 reps.
I don't think anyone wants that.
And that is my exact plan. Now, on lower calories, that's brutal, but that's life for 3 weeks.
Say, it's sustainable for 3 weeks, but even I would say even on it's probably smarter to do it for the 3 weeks as well, because on a longer cut, that would really psychologically start to get difficult. Because let's say, you've got, let's say that the workouts will probably be one of the harder ones, because the run is, mentally at least you've got a lot of reasons. It's also kind of one foot in front of the other, but psyching yourself up for another set of deadlifts when you're depleted. 3 weeks is like, cool, I've got 3 more sessions of this kind of deadlift to get done. I've got 3 more sets or 3 more times I've got to do Bulgarian split squats on this deficit before I get to eat again, as opposed to 12 weeks of just that little bit of depletion. I can understand why that can psychologically definitely get at you for sure if you're doing that for a long period of time. So I can see how the shorter period of time and the more intense cut can definitely help from a mental perspective. It's like, it's going to be brutal, but as you said, it's going to be brutal for 3 workouts as opposed to just like grating at you for 12 weeks.
Dude, 100%, man. And because my running volume essentially is high and it's only going to get higher, I'll probably go from 200Ks a month up to 300 and then 400, and I'll probably cap out about 500Ks a month in about 4 months, right? But with this, because like I just have to, right? So actually it'll probably cap out, it'll go from 50Ks to 60Ks. So I'll go 250 and then we'll go to 70Ks a week. And maybe I'll touch on some 75. So I'll go 250 and then about 300 to 325Ks a month, my bad, before any YouTuber starts to crack on me.
Your math was incorrect.
Yeah, my bad math. I need to really pull that up quickly. So with this, with my running volume high and knowing it's going to get higher, I don't want to diet for 12 weeks. And like, I know that I have to be more conservative with my lifts inside this 3 weeks. So I really actually stay more of like a 4 rep in reserve, to be honest, because I'm more prone to having injuries. Okay, I just am. I'm not fueled sufficiently to not lift. And some people are like, oh, don't be soft. It's like, nah, man, I'm pushing. But I know that I have a little bit of an ankle issue, and my Achilles is like somewhat close on to a rupture, and it has been for like 6 months now. I got a nagging hamstring. But I get a myotherapy every single week, and I have for like ever now, and that keeps me, solid, so I can keep moving forward. And like, I know my body. So like, man, like that's my current training. I think like, man, if I have a strong enough why to not stop training. If I'm talking about my why and I start to get like teared up about it, it's like, that shit ain't ever gonna stop, right? Like, I'm not gonna go, oh, I can't be bothered today. It's like, dude, I can't be bothered being that guy for my kid. I was like, man, there is nothing ever gonna stop me. And then when he passes me, I'll be like, fuck, I'll probably just have 7,000 burgers and put on 50 kilos. But
like, all right, well, you can run faster than me, but your deadlift ain't 200 kilos, son. So
exactly. But I still got one up him from when he's 12. When he's 12, at least I'll still be stronger than him. But I got Finn trailing, so I've got a good 4 years now still. But I think for me, like that's my current training. That's what I'm doing. Like, I've trained since I was 14. Like, I've lifted weights. I've lifted weights for 20. I'm 38. I don't know, whatever that is. For a long time, I've lifted weights, right? And I think for me, I enjoy training. I have had periods in my life when, I was training to try and be a professional at a sport. Unfortunately, that didn't go to plan. I went through a detraining period. I've also gone through a overweight period where I've ballooned out to 120 kilos. Like, dude, like that's super heavy for me and my height. So like anyone out there is like, oh, you're always fit. It's like, dude, no, like I'm the body type that if I don't train, I can put a lot of weight on and quite easily. And I'm also the type of mindset where it's like, because I'm not training anything for specifically right now except Jackson, and that keeps me like on point. I found my really good why. I'm someone who can kind of go, yeah, I've got a lot on, and I have to always talk myself into it. That's just who I am, right? I trained for a sport. I don't have that sport anymore, and I did that for years and years. I had meningococcal. I tore my quad. I've like got injuries coming out of injuries, right? So like training hurts sometimes for me. So like, I need to have a good why to stay focused, and I've got my why, which is great. But over the years, like I put on weight, right? Because I didn't have a strong enough why. I was like, it is what it is. But I had my son, and I was overweight. Just so everyone knows, like why I pulled it back in. I was overweight. I was probably sitting at, maybe it wasn't my heaviest, probably about 115 at that time. I ballooned out twice in my life, like properly ballooned out. And this was the second time. And I had like 100 staff. I had 20 gyms. I was like hypocritical. Like I wasn't training anyone, so I really wasn't talking much about health and fitness at that period of time. So I wasn't really hypocritical as far as what I was, preaching. But I was hypocritical owning 20 gyms and and not being healthy myself. But I was traveling around the world for 6 months of the year, and I would tell myself like I would eat for convenience. I was eating out a lot. I wasn't training as much. I was on flights all the time. It was insane. And I just had a lot of excuses and justifications. And then just before we had Jax, I was like, you're not a role model, man. And I wanted to be a role model that for my kids. I think that is what it's all about. And at that point, it's like, flip the switch, lost the weight, had the kids, and then I've maintained a pretty good level since then. And I have my upper limit now, so it's my upper limit. I know if I push up to like that 94, like sometimes I've let it go to 96. I'm like, oh, geez. Normally it's my upper limit's like 94 now. And then I just pull it back into 88, and I will sit in that sort of bandwidth. I'll hold that 88 for, probably a couple of months. It depends on how my training is, because I have a couple of big events coming up. I'll probably hold that 88 pretty much to the end of the year.
Yeah.
To be honest. And then next year I'll just be lax again, and I'll be lax probably for about 6 months. And over the 6 months, I'll go back up to 94. I'll be like, okay, time for a 3-week cut. But this 3-week cut I'm doing at the moment, I'll dive deep, 1,300 calories. I'll come out at 2,000 calories for the back end of this, back end of the 5 weeks of this 8-week challenge. I'll literally like bang, come up 2,000, and it'll be like minimal body fat changes on the 2,000 because I'm still in that deficit. And I'll probably grade it up to like 2,400, 2,500 on the back end. And I'm in maintenance mode, and all of a sudden I'm out of my diet, and I really only have to really diet for 3 weeks. So that's my training and a bit of a backstory for everyone out there. Some of it's a little bit insane, but I like to live on the insane side of things, of the spectrum. There's a spectrum of safe and insane. I live on the insane side of things.
Yeah. Hey, look, it's the insane people that get shit done sometimes, though. Right? Thomas Edison was insane. You could think you're going to turn on a light switch and then lights are going to come on. Right? That's insanity.
Exactly.
But it does sound like for you having that, obviously, that really good why, as far as obviously running for Jacks, like, it's beautiful, and it's something that I think the reason why a lot of guys sort of get started, but then it's like, I don't know if they push themselves to that degree of being wanting to be that guy. It's like, you think about professional athletes that have had parents that coach them throughout their lives, and it's like they talk about that a lot, and they talk about how it was my dad or my mom who was there with me at the pools and who was running with me and doing the stuff. And it's like, but then there's the other side where they're like, oh yeah, it was my coach was basically like my dad, right? And then it's like, you want to have that sort of cross section as long as you can, and especially for yourself. Like, it sounds, and from knowing you as well, having a competition or an event or like a goal, like a powerlifting meet or like a half Ironman or an obstacle race, whatever, that seems to be the thing for you that really gets the training and everything dialed in. Is that fair?
Man, 100%. Like, I'm a very goal oriented person. And if I don't have an event, and I was lost with my training, like so subpar for a good decade. And it's because I had no events. Like, I'd finished footy. It just wasn't part of my life anymore. Like, after I'd been in Chicago, my body kept just breaking down. I've had so many breaks and torn everything. I was like, I can't play because my body can't take it. So I was lost because I had no competition, and I'm a competitive person. So I was subpar with my training, which then my training is my keystone habit with my nutrition. And I didn't have anything to look forward to. And what I've realized is like, no, like I constantly have to be booking in, for me personally, events to do so I can train for, because then I can structure my training towards an event. I was like, I'm doing it. And then all of a sudden, like, I get in the process, because athletes just do the work. And for me, I'm my own athlete. I have the identity as an athlete. I don't care if an athlete's mindset is not someone who wins the race or is the best in the world. The athlete's mindset is someone who is training with an athletic mindset, who does the work even when they don't want to, right? And that's the athlete's mindset for me. So I am an athlete. I train like an athlete. I do the work even when I don't want to, as if I'd be paid to show up and do it. And I also had this thought as I was running today. I was like, so many people need a perspective shift. I was like running along the coast. I was like, oh, it's so nice, 10 degrees out here. And literally I was like, people, and I was sitting, I actually sat in the car for like 5 minutes before I ran. I was like, oh, dude, I'm tired. I like nearly dozed off in the car sitting at the park before I ran. I was like, I know I needed to run. I've got like stuff. I'm actually going to leave in the next, like, I've got to be at Jackson. I'm doing a cross country training for their school in 20 minutes time. But it's another thing, but I was thinking, I was like, I am so lucky that I can run today. Like, someone today and yesterday and the day before that has lost their ability to use their legs. They lost it, and they would give anything for one last run. Like, they would, right? And I'm here saying I'm too tired to run. like how ungrateful are you that you have the ability to do something that other people would beg to do, and it's not a time constraint, it's a I'm too tired constraint. It's like, dude, get some perspective, have some gratitude, and go enjoy yourself.
Mm.
Like, like just go and do it, because like people would beg for your quality problem, because your quality problem is bullshit. And like, if you're not going to run for yourself, like run for someone else who wishes they could run today, right? And
Mm.
do it for them. And like, I was just thinking as I was running, I was like, wow, it's like, it's such a good perspective shift that I think a lot of people need to have.
Mm. Yeah, I think so. I think it's a good place to kind of wrap up. It's like it was for
Mm.
I think for me as well is really about perspective. Doing definitely don't have as deep a as deep a wife as that just yet. For me, I'm so Trav is very much like an outcome oriented. I'm a little bit more process oriented. So I really enjoy the process of lifting. For me, variety is the thing that keeps me going back. But I don't think there's anything that would stop me from going. Right, like training is one of those things that I just really enjoy the process of, and getting stronger incrementally time after time, and switching things up. Like after this phase, I want to do some more semi-Olympic stuff. Definitely can't be doing snatches and full cleans from the floor, but things like power cleans, getting that sort of more explosive movement, feeling really strong in that place, doing some dumbbell snatches, that kind of stuff. Really enjoyed those sort of more full body compound things that really get the blood flowing. But again, to be an example, right? I grew up in a family where there was some challenges with divorce and separation and stuff, and then didn't end up growing up the healthiest during that period of time. And because of that, it's like it's made in my mind, it's like I don't want to be that family. I want to be that family that can go out for a run and a walk together and do stuff together. And I also want to be able to pick up heavy shit. I want to be able to do all of those things. So having that perspective within, not only do it because you can, purely because you can, but also just think about the example that you're setting and why you're doing this in the first place. If you don't have that why, you've got to really fucking think about it, right? Because even people who are in the industry for years and years and years, without that, it can slip. So having that front of mind and really present for yourself is probably the biggest thing that for both of us has kept us going. Is like having that this is the reason why I'm doing this. Like I'm trying to gain as much muscle as I can, so I can be a role model, so I can so I can maintain on less work, so I can spend less time worrying about the food and the training, because I've kind of gone through that phase. But also so I can just be a better example and be someone who is fit and who my daughter is proud to to go to the beach with. And then I'm like, no one's like, oh, look, overweight dad, look at him, beached whale. I don't
Or
think
when
anyone's
she
calling
gets
me
a
a
boy,
beach. Yeah, no one's
when
calling me
she
a beached
gets a
whale at
boyfriend,
78
mate.
kilos.
When she
Scare
gets
the
a
boys
boyfriend,
away.
you can just scare them away. I think that's another good reason. You got a good
There's,
10 years of bulking happening.
there's definitely. See, Trav's like, I want to inspire my son. I'm like, I'm going to protect my daughter. It's a different
Exactly.
mindset. Girl dad.
100%.
For
Well,
sure.
guys, I hope you enjoyed this. It's a bit of a different episode today. Hopefully you took some notes away from it, and why we do the things we do and what we're doing, and how you can maybe adopt some of that into your life as well. If you want some coaching from us, go to fit-dad.club. Schedule a call with us. We'll see where you are, where you want to be, and what's holding you back, and see if we're the good fit for you. Also, don't forget to rate and review on iTunes, and if you're on YouTube, ask some questions. Just like heckle Jace as much as you can, and tell
Do
him
it. Love it.
how you hate him.
Yeah.
And
Skinny fat dad trying to tell me how to train.
exactly. And guys, till next week. Also, ask us if you want specific topics. Let us know, and we'll chat to you next week, guys. Cheers for today, Jace. It was awesome.
Peace out.